What's up everybody, it is Og here back with another video. Today's video is going to be part 1 of the much anticipated Steamvaults Duo Mage. Now if you guys were watching my 30k gold challenge for September, or August, not September, you guys would have seen me do this farm a lot. And you can see up here that we spent 38 hours farming this dungeon. During the course of that 38 hours though, I was able to make just from loot alone between the two tunes around 20 to 25,000 gold. And then from the actual boost itself, I was also making 150 gold a run, so 600 gold an hour. We're able to do the run in 13 minutes, 2 seconds, but it is one of the most complex runs with specific positioning where you really want to focus on making sure you are in that specific spot. There's some tips and tricks. And so I want to break this out into 2 parts so I can really drill down into the details and really help you guys to be able to do the farm yourself. So with that being said, we're going to jump into it. If you guys are enjoying these videos, definitely hit that like and subscribe button down below. It really helps out the channel. Thank you so much. So let's start off with the recommended talents. Now this talent build is very specific to Steamvaults. And so this is going to be great for Steamvaults because we go into Frozen Core, reduces the damage taken by frost and fire effects. Blizzard is going to be something you're probably going to be getting hit by a decent bit, and potentially Frostbolt as well. So that 6% could be the difference between life and death. Outside of that though, the important things to focus on are Water Elemental, Mana Regen, as much as we can get in the Arcane Tree, and then Frostbite. Everything else is pretty standard, but Frostbite is very, very key to these dual farms because basically you have a 15% chance to freeze your target for 5 seconds every single time Blizzard ticks, which means if you have 2 Blizzards going on, no speed enhancements at all, that means you have a 30% chance per second to freeze the mob. Then the mob gets frozen for 5 seconds. Basically, the idea here is that we want to keep the mobs locked down in place permanently so that they aren't catching up to us and we can kill them. This is how we accomplish the farm. So make sure whatever variation of this spec that you want to do, you make sure to include Frostbite. I'll have this link down in the description down below so you guys can grab it as well. So now let's move on to the gear itself. Now, you kind of have some unique gear opportunities when you start doing duo farms. Reason being, Blizzard is affected by haste. And so if we're trying to keep the mobs as frozen as possible, haste can actually help us to be able to keep the mobs frozen more by triggering more frostbite procs. Well, how do we do that? Well, let's say that we're gonna do Blizzard. I turn on Quartz to show you guys. Blizzard is typically 8 seconds. Over the course of those 8 seconds, we get 8 ticks, right? 1 tick per second. What if I pop Icy Veins though? Well, now Blizzard is 6.7 seconds because we have the 20% haste. And so items with haste are going to greatly increase the speed of your Blizzard ticks, proccing more frostbite. What's some easy ways to get some haste? Blade of Wizardry. Now, all these that I'm about to say are all proc based, which means they will not retroactively apply to your current Blizzard, which means you have to recast Blizzard to get this benefit. But at times it is definitely beneficial. And I have a weak aura that you'll see during the actual run itself, and I'll put down in the comments down below for a link to that, which you guys can go ahead and grab for procs of specific items that are pretty common. What's one item that's great to get? Well, this headpiece right here is out of Steamvaults, Hydromancer's Head Wrap. You kill the last boss in Steamvaults, it's the quest right outside, and you can get this. Why do we want this? It has a meta gem. In that meta gem, you can then get the Mystical Skyfire Diamond. Mystical Skyfire Diamond is going to increase your haste by a decent bit, and we'll see if I can get it to proc real quick. Probably not though. But it'll increase your haste by a very decent margin. I want to say it's like 20% or maybe even 30%, which is going to greatly increase your Blizzard. We can get our Blizzard down to about 4.8 seconds. Another great piece to get is going to be Blade of Wizardry. I have this on the other mage. I was testing it out. Blade of Wizardry, pretty cheap now, 100% worth it. So here you can see the 320 haste proc that we just got. There is about a 40% or 40 second GCD, I believe, maybe 45 seconds GCD on that proc. But you can see that if you time the Blizzard, it's going to increase the haste of your Blizzard. Another great item to get is Quag's Eye. Again, I personally don't have it, but it's a great item for you guys to go ahead and get. And any other kind of haste procs that you guys can think of would be fantastic. What about the rest of the gear? Well, obviously it's going to always be great to have 5-piece T2 if you can. So I have 5-piece T2 on my mages. If you don't have it though, it's not the end of the world. It just helps you with positioning. Outside of that though, you want to go for a combination of stamina, intellect, spell power, and spirit. These farms are slightly unique. Steamvaults, Shadow Labs, Shattered Halls, the Duo farms, Old Hills Brad even. These farms are kind of unique in that you're not killing a ton of mobs at once. So you do have the opportunity to leverage spell power and not be, penalized by the AoE cap. So I'd recommend picking up some spell power if you can. Spirit isn't as big because the fights are actually shorter. It's not like we're constantly kiting the mobs back and forth like we are in Mara. But if you just want to get one gear set that will work for Slave Pens, Maradon, ZG, Steamvaults, anything you want, focus on Spirit, Intellect, and Spell Power. Obviously having enough stamina so that you don't die during these pools, which you'll see you're actually going to take some damage during the pools as well. So now that we've gone over the gear and talents, we are ready to begin the pool. As far as consumables, you can get Savory Deviate Delights if you are a gnome, which help with your height to be able to see around corners. You could technically get any kind of, mana regen, Scrolls of Spirit, Elixir of Dranic Wisdom. You can flask up if you really want to, but you don't need any of that. And personally, I don't run with any consumables. The only thing that I might need or might use is the Savory Deviate Delights, just to be able to cast my Blizzard a little bit easier, and it will help you when you're starting your practice. One important thing to note though is that as soon as we are ready to start the dungeon, we need to run in at the same time. The reason being is you're going to see a Water Elemental pack over on the left side in just a second here. We need to start their pat as quickly as possible so we can move on to the second pool and basically not waste a minute and a half waiting for them to pat back, which will make sense in a second. So as soon as you go into the instance, what you want to do is you want to run in with one mage. You want to then run the other mage into the instance. And obviously if this is your friend, you run in at the same time. One mage blinks down, activating this pat right here as quickly as possible. There's a group of 2 mobs that pats right here. You can see them right there. And you want to get them patting. You then run the other mage down, and this is going to be the mage that pulls the mobs. Nova these front 2 warriors and step forward. And now you can see that Water Elemental pack right there. Now this Water Elemental pack starts off in the back corner and based on timing could be pretty far back. But if you don't run forward, you might miss the opportunity to pull this next group early enough before the Water Elemental is out of the way. Your goal is to pull this pack behind the Water Elemental, these front packs and the 2 warriors that we just went through during this first pull. So what you want to do is you want to wait till they pass the far right mob, which is right there. And until that point, keep Blizzard on the warriors and then get started pulling the other mobs. So they pass, we're going to turn, we're going to pull this pack over here on the right. We're going to face pull or pull with Ice Lance those mobs. And then make sure you shimmy to the left. You avoid this guy as long as you don't go out into this open area right here. You'll avoid this Water Elemental pack. It might take you a little bit of practice. Water Elemental packs, though, will just obliterate you. You'll die guaranteed. So go out to the left, pull these guys, go back to the top of this mound right here. Make sure you're pretty much on the top. You can see here, it kind of slants down. Make sure you're on the top and then go into a block. It's okay if you get hit. You shouldn't take much damage outside of right here. And then once you're in the block, the other mage runs down. Now this mage, I recommend to have mage armor, not the biggest deal. Summon the Water Ellie on the way down. And then what you want to do is you want to be, basically think of this flag and the end of the wall. You want to be halfway in between and then straight back. You want to place your Blizzard along the outside, and here's where Savory Deviate Delights help because you can actually place it a little bit easier. But you want to place it along the right side so that you catch all the mobs with Blizzard. Now you don't want to drop your Pet Nova while your friend or your other tune is still in the block because that's going to cause the mobs to freeze in place and hit the closest mob to them, which is your other tune. So what you want to do is you want to drop the Blizzard, immediately tab back as soon as they turn their head. Wait until they turn their head. That's very important. They turn their head, spam blink. Now, I'm going to give you a macro. It basically is a cancel aura and blink macro. From there, you stack your 2 mages up together and spam Blizzard and try to work down these mobs. Now, the blink macro is very important. Basically, cancel aura ice block gets you out of ice block quicker than just, standard cancel the ice block with the ice block ability and then blink. And so what I've done is I macroed blink and cancel aura ice block into one macro so you can spam it and it blinks you out. You then immediately want to summon the Water Elemental with the mob with the tune that just blinked out. Let me go back here to show you that. So once you blink out of here, as soon as you blink, summon the Water Ellie and drop down the Water Ellie Nova right on the mobs. Again, I have a macro for that so that I can just press the same key. For me, it's Y. The first press will summon the Water Elemental. Second press will drop a Nova. And so I can basically just use the freeze of the Nova very easily. I'll give you guys that macro as well down below. But that allows you to get those mobs stuck for the first time and then allows you to have time for your Frostbite to go crazy. Now as we're gonna pop cooldowns, we want all of our haste things. I do have MQG on one mage, which is very nice to increase my haste, but you can see haste procs that we're getting right there. And you can see that we're down to 5.5 second cast, 4.8 second cast of Blizzard right there because of all the haste. Now you're gonna notice that there's gonna be some annoying mobs in the packs. The first annoying mob is Engineer. They throw grenades. The grenades can be annoying, and they will throw them at your pets, which means that if your pet is out in the open trying to attack people, it will hit your pet and it'll be annoying. And so you're gonna see here, my pet's probably gonna get zerged down by engineers. You can see the bombs landing on him right there. They are annoying. The second annoying mob is oracles. Oracles have a heal. And so the oracle will only heal itself, which is nice, which means that you can just, kill the rest of the mobs and then worry about the oracles. But what I find to be the easiest way to handle them is to silence them. They will begin casting heal at roughly 40% health. They can cast it somewhere in the range of 40 to 50%, but most times I find it's around 40%, which means you won't be able to kill it just with Blizzard most of the time. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna pop out of the corner, silence the heal, pop back into the safe area, and continue Blizzarding. Definitely useful to keep up Ice Barrier as you go through. The next annoying mob is the Sorceress. The Sorceress is going to be casting Frostbolt and Blizzard. The Blizzard actually doesn't hurt too bad, and you can sit through an entire Blizzard and not die. But the Blizzard is annoying in the fact that, one, it does slow you, of course, but then two, if you get a couple of them stacked, it really can do some decent damage. The Frostbolts, though, they can just mess with you. And then there's a third mob called a Siren, and that Siren will cast lightning bolts at you. Those lightning bolts hurt like heck, so don't let yourself get hit by the lightning bolts. One last thing about the mobs is that the oracles, if they get close to you, have an AoE silence. It's very similar to the Blood Elf silence, only about an 8-yard range, I believe. And then they also have a frost shock that they can do from about 20 yards, and that frost shock will do a serious amount of damage to you. So if you don't have Ice Barrier and you're below probably 1,500 to 2,000 health, you'll probably die from that frost shock. Once we finish the first pool, you want to use Mage number 2. So Mage number 1 was our first Ice Block tune. Mage number 2 is our second Ice Block tune. Easy way to tell whether he is Ice Block. Does he have Ice Block? He's Mage number 2. And what you want to do is you want to sprint around the side here as quickly as possible to be ready for this next pool. Now, as I said before, there's the Water Elemental pool from the first pack. That Water Elemental is padding back right here. And so it's padding back, and then it'll pat back out, and then it'll pat back and pat back out. When it is padding back and past, or pretty much past the middle of this group, so this mob right here, we'll just say, past this mob, you can begin the next pool. You can do the pool until the mob gets to about this area right here, so the Bog Lord on the left. If you try to pull later than that, you will very likely pull the Water Elemental pack and die. So you have that window to pull. Alternatively, you can also pull as soon as the mob passes these mobs going north, but the other pat has to be in a perfect position as well. So you could do that after you get a little bit of practice, but I recommend not trying to rush it with that strategy right off the bat. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to try to sprint around the side and get into position for the next pool while this group right here is coming back. So if you need to go invis, go invis. You can see here's the other pack. They pat out and then back as well. And so I completely forgot to start the stopwatch. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to check the time at the end of the run. And then I'm going to wait for this pack to get out of there. So they're going to get out of there. When you're getting used to this, if you want to use invisibility just to get into this next spot a little bit quicker to get set, go ahead. But you can see here, this Tidal Surger is going that way. This Tidal Surger pack is out of the way. Wait until they pass pretty much this spot right here to be able to run behind to make sure you're not pulling them. And then you can run behind this wall. Now you can not pull this Bog Lord. Like, don't get too close to him. But you can run around the side here. And you don't want to go all the way around the side of this pillar because you could potentially pull this mob. But as long as that pack that we just skipped is moving away, and as long as the other pack is in a good area based on what we just said, you can begin the next pool. The way to begin this next pool is by blizzarding these two Myrmidons right here. There is a chance that there's a pack that's coming down that you can also aggro. That is perfectly fine if you do aggro them, not a problem. But we're going to go ahead, we're going to rank 1 Blizzard right there, pull these guys, then we're going to go around the side, hug the left. They will automatically pull this pack. You can see this pack is on its way back, so you got to be pretty quick with this one. But then you're going to want to Ice Lance this pack. Now I recommend Ice Lancing the pack pretty close to when you're going into block. If they start casting lightning bolts on you because they're sirens, they could wait there to cast a lightning bolt and could take too long to catch up to your ice block, where the other pack, the water elemental, could pool. So you want to make sure that you ice lance them and then go straight for the block. Now the place for the block is going to be right on the perimeter of this dark section and this light section. So we come out of the light and we're going straight to where this kind of slants down, and you want to block right there. That's going to put you in range where our other mage can stand behind this wall and blizzard off of you. So we're going to block right there. You can see I ice lance them, they didn't cast. The other mage runs right behind the banner and a little bit away from the wall. You need to be just a little bit away from the wall. If you're too close, you won't be in line of sight. And then cast blizzard right on the outside, aggroing these mobs. Same thing, wait for their head to turn, blink away, cold snap if you need to, drop the water elemental, and then blizzard. Now you want to make sure you pull this water elemental back, because if the water elemental just sits there, it's going to start casting, or it's going to start getting obliterated by these mobs. Here it ran forward, so it's kind of like whatever, I'm just going to sacrifice the water ellie. I'm going to focus on the oracle. The oracle goes out for the cast. I missed the cast because I'm not paying attention. And there you can see you got to make sure you're paying attention to be able to get the silence. Some of the mobs are starting to sneak forward, so you always want to focus on the front mobs to try to keep them frostbitten as much as possible. You see we're getting haste procs. I'm not going to burn them just because of mana. But you can see that the mobs are starting to die. This oracle got below 40%, so I know he's going to cast soon. I pop out, get the silence on the oracle's heal. There's another oracle coming towards us, but we're focusing on making sure that we kill that back oracle as quickly as possible so that this oracle doesn't get off another heal. Pop out, get another silence on it. Now we should be good to kill that oracle and just have this one oracle left. When there's only one oracle left, you can have up to 3 if you accidentally pull some extra mobs, maybe 4 oracles in one pack, so it can be definitely annoying. But once you get it down to just 1 oracle left or 2 oracles left, I recommend having 1 mage blizzard to try to keep it slowed and frostbitten as much as possible, while the other mage just turrets it down with ice lance. But then get down the mobs, and that is pool number 2. That's where we're going to stop the first video. Reason being, there was a lot of information there, a lot of positioning, a lot of background information. And before we get into the next section of the dungeon, I want to have a separate video so that doesn't go on too long. See you guys in the next one.